Hi everybody, I'm Greg Fishel. Welcome to bonus weather video number 2 for this week, and I am recording this at 12:50 a.m. Do you know how long it takes to go through 205 measurable snow events that go back to 1944? Maybe some other people could do it quicker than I did it, but it took me quite a while. And I was actually initially recording this at 12:40 a.m., but I've got a really interesting problem which concerns me, is that my fully charged battery on this MacBook is dying in 10 minutes, and I just replaced the battery about a year ago. So it looks like I have got a defective battery on my hands, and so now I have to take my charger with me everywhere to prevent losing all sorts of information. So what a fun night. All right, so what we're going to talk about here is how many snow events we've had meeting different thresholds over 10-year periods going all the way back to 1944. A lot of you, and myself included, have a perception that it just doesn't snow like it used to. And so in science, you don't go off perception, you go off numbers, okay? You go off data, and can you back up those perceptions with actual numbers? So that's what we're gonna do here, and let's see what we come up with. So I'm gonna put myself in the corner, and I am going to call up the first threshold, and this is the number of measurable snow events. And it just so happens that because this is the winter of 23-24, and they started keeping records at RDU in the winter of 44-45, I have got 8 10-year periods, exactly, okay? Now, admittedly, the winter of 23-24 is not over yet, and even though we haven't had any measurable snow so far, we've still got the second half of February, which doesn't look real promising. We've got all of March, and heck, in 1983, we had measurable snow on April 18th, which was the latest measurable snow ever at RDU. So we still could pull a rabbit out of our hat, but for right now, we're calling it 0 for this winter. Okay, so the number of events that meet the threshold of 0.1 inches, that's the definition of measurable snow, 17 the first 10 years, then it jumps to 35 and sort of hangs up there in the 20s and 30s, and then all of a sudden the last 10 years crashes to 16, which is one less than it was back from 1944 to 1954. So certainly in the last 10 years you can make the argument that the number of measurable snowfall events has definitely gone down. Now, whether or not this is a natural cycle, whether or not it's something more than that, a long-term trend, I'm not here to discuss that today. I'm simply taking a look at the numbers and saying, hey, there's a perception out there. Do the numbers back that up? Well, at least over the last 10 years with regard to measurable snow, it does. Okay, now we go to the number of snow events that have been greater than or equal to 1 inch, okay, which is at least enough to at least partially cover the grass, okay? So again, a very low number back in the 40s and early 50s, and then it jumps up to 29, stays at 20 or above all the way into the early 80s, and then 3 of the last 4 10-year periods, we have had 10 or less 1-inch snow events over a 10-year period. So, and all of those, the 10, the 8, and the 9 are lower than the 12 we had back in the 40s and the 50s. So if you're comparing this, if you've been around here a while, and you're comparing this with the way things used to be back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and your perception is that it doesn't snow as much, you're exactly right. There are the numbers. It's clear as day that is the case. Now, let's move the threshold up to 5.2 inches, and the reason I picked 5.2 is not because I just like 5.2 or I randomly thought of it. It is the 30-year average based on data from 1991 to 2020. So those are the normals that are going to be used until we get to the year 2031, and then we'll be using the period from 2001 to 2030. So we update the normals or the 30-year average every 10 years. So here you have the 5.2, and we increase 1 each 10-year period up into the 70s and early 80s, and then we drop back to 3, 5, 1, and 3. And so, if you look at this in terms of percentages, from 84, 85 to 93, 94, only 30% of those winters had above normal snowfall, at or above normal. 50%, 94, 95 to 03, 04, 10% from 04, 05 to 13, 14, and only 30% from 14, 15 to 23, 24. So again, if you're comparing this with the 50s, 60s, and 70s, no question that it is less. And then just for fun, I thought, let's go back and take a look. How many times do we get our clock cleaned, all right, with 10 inches or more? Well, as you might expect, there haven't been a whole lot of those, only 5 in the last 80 years. And I don't really know that you can discern a trend here. You got 100, 20200, and there was another 00 period from 54, 55 to 73, 74. So I really don't know that you can make anything out of this in terms of a long-term trend. Certainly it is not unprecedented. We've got another example earlier in the 20th century that did exactly the same thing. So I think the trends are more obvious when you look at 0.1 measurable snow, 1 inch or more, and 5.2 or more. I think there, if you've been around here a while, then your perception is absolutely accurate. It just doesn't snow as much as it used to. Whether or not that'll turn around in coming 10-year periods, your guess is as good as mine, but we shall see. So hopefully that actually brought some numerical proof to the perceptions that some of you and myself have, and we'll just keep an eye on it, see how things go, and whether or not we can get any measurable snow before this winter is up. Again, if we don't, it'll only be the 3rd time since World War II that we've gone 2 consecutive winters without measurable snow. For snow lovers, that is just god-awful depressing. All right, folks, that is bonus weather video number 2 for this week. Number 3 will be coming up Friday, and the next daily weather update will be later today because it's already February 15th. So we will see you in several hours. Y'all take care, folks. We'll talk to you soon.